Hi, everyone. We'll be getting started in just a moment. Thank you for your patience. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. Ashutosh will be introducing today's speaker.
Thank you, Veronica. Hello, everyone. Good morning. I'm Ashutosh Datta. On behalf of my colleagues, welcome to this month's talk from the Johns Hopkins Institute for Autonomy seminar series, which is co-sponsored by the Computer Science Department of the Whiting School of Engineering. Each month, usually have a talk on research topics at the intersection of assurance and autonomy. And this seminar will be recorded so that you can come and see that later on. So we are pleased to introduce today's speaker, Elham Tabassi from NIST. Elham Tabassi is the Chief of Staff in the Information Technology Laboratory as the National Institute for Standards and Technology, which is NIST. ITL is one of the 6 research laboratories within NIST that supports the NIST mission to promote the US innovation, industrial competitiveness by advancing measurement science, standards, and technology in the ways that enhance economic security and improve our quality of life. Elham has been working on various machine learning and computer vision research projects with applications in biometrics evaluation standards since 1999. She's also the principal architect of NIST fingerprint image quality, that's NFIQ, which is now an international standard for measuring fingerprint image quality and has been deployed in many large biometric applications worldwide. She has received the Department of Commerce Gold Medal in 2003, bronze medals in 2007 and 2010. She is also a recipient of ANSY's 2012 Next Generation Award, Women in Biometrics Award in 2016, for her contribution to biometrics. She's a senior member of IEEE and member of the Association for the Advancement of Artificial Intelligence. So let's welcome Elham. Her talk will be an overview of NIST Trustworthy AI program. And just for your information, please put your questions in the Q&A box, and these will be answered after the talk. With that, welcome, Elham. Over to you.
Great. Thank you so very much, everyone, for inviting me, for having me here. And you in the introduction, you said that these seminars are supposed to be technical talks. My talk is going to be semi-technical. I'm trying to give you an overview of what we're doing on the Trustworthy AI program and some of the upcoming things that's coming up. But I'll be happy to get to some of these discussions into to the level that my knowledge and ability allows, to the technical level, and let you know what we are doing. With that, I try to share my screen because I do have a presentation that I want to show you, and we test drive that this morning. I know that this should work. So let's just do this and see if you are seeing my can I get a sort of check if you're seeing my slides?
Yep.
Yes, we can see that.
Excellent, very good. Okay, so a look at NIST Trustworthy AI program. My name is Elham Tabassi, and thank you very much for the kind introduction. And NIST is under Department of Commerce. Our mission is to enhance national security and economic security, to advance and help industrial competitiveness of the US. We call ourselves the nation's laboratory. NIST has a very broad portfolio of research from robots for advanced manufacturing to modeling the behavior of the wildfires to quantum information, building the most accurate atomic clock to biotechnology. We have a very broad portfolio of research, and we have 6 laboratories at NIST, and I'm part of Information Technology Laboratory. That's one of those 6. When it comes to AI is part of all 6 laboratories, and all of the laboratories are using AI in advancing innovation and scientific discovery in the type of the work that they're doing. And I already mentioned some of them, like AI in drug discovery, bioengineering, AI in advanced communications for spectrum sharing, AI in robots for manufacturing and other use cases. In this slide, I'm trying to show you the breadth of the work of the activities and involvement of NIST in AI program. Top row in the middle is the AI in science that I just talked about. Most of my talk today is going to be on the foundational research to advance trustworthy AI. That's where ITL is leading that work. And most of my talk today is going to be on that. We also work with many different international standard development organizations to advance standards for AI and trustworthy AI. Standard is a part of our name, is our middle name, but it's important to note that we are not a standard development organization such as, you know, ISO or EEE or Insights are, with the exception, of course, for FISMA for security and cybersecurity guides, and interestingly enough, for biometric exchange standards that FBI and Interpol and many other national organizations and international organizations use those standards. I'll touch on our involvement with standards and importance of standards, particularly for AI, particularly now, aftermath of a lot of policy discussions of note, the EU AI Act. Evaluations, development of the metrics, benchmarks, measurement science is very dear to us. We truly believe in Lord Kelvin's quote that if you can't measure it, you can't improve it. So if we want to stay true to our claim that we want to advance trustworthy AI, first we have to be able to measure trustworthy AI. And of course, we cannot measure anything before we know what it is that we want to measure. So I'll talk about some of this. We are a non-regulatory agency, and staying non-regulatory is really, really important for us, because the only way for us to be successful, and any success of past that you can think of, was possible because of our very close relationship and engagement with industry, with partners in academia, in nonprofit, in industry. We have their trust because of the technical excellence of our scientists and researchers, but also because of our objective third-party neutral position that we are not non-regulatory, and we really don't have any skin in the game. We said, my boss always says that we are non-regulatory, but we are not anti-regulatory, and we said in many of the policy discussions, and our job and our role is to provide enough data, quantitative data, for solid policy discussions and policy decision makings. I'll touch about a little bit of that too. And then another really important part of our mission, most internally focused, is to make sure that we do have the right expertise, we do have the right infrastructure to carry out the objectives of the AI program. And reaching out to academia, working with people like you, is one way of enhancing our expertise and making sure that we stay up to date with the latest research. And very quickly about our roles, just to give some context, that while we are a sort of a science and measurement science agency, but we also play a role in the policy and standards. One of them is that you probably all have heard about that we have got a mandate for development of AI risk management framework. Congress has given us some timeline, which I think is sort of aggressive. They want us to develop an AI risk management framework within 2 years from the enactment of the law. That gives us a deadline of January 1st, 2023. We have a plan to start developing the risk management framework. We have done extensive outreach to take some advances in understanding and having a good grip on the scientific underpinning and technical foundations for development of the AI risk management framework. A lot more needs to be done. So we're going to have a launch event sometime soon, and all the other events that we had done, the workshops, the reports that we had put out, there were steps towards the development of risk management. We'll talk about this a little bit more. The National Defense Authorization Act, if you see NDAA, and I apologize for alphabet soup. The National Defense Authorization Act, as many of you may know, had a AI initiative within the act that basically sets broad vision, strategy, and mandates for AI within the US. One thing that it does is establishment of an AI initiative office within the White House, within the Office of Science and Technology in White House. And the AI initiative office, which has the role of setting strategy and implementations for research and development of AI, has two main bodies. One of them is the AI Advisory Committee, or AI FACA, that the law asks Department of Secretary of Commerce in consultation with OSTP, DOE, and NSF to establish this FACA, which is an advisory committee, and that has been tasked to NIST. So we are in the midst of establishing the FACA. A Federal Register notice should come out sometime in the next month or so. That for any FACA, as you may know, it needs to be all of the meeting of the FACA and establishment of the FACA has to be announced through a Federal Register notice, so public knows about this. So a announcement is going to go out for both establishment of the FACA, but also asking for nominations for the member on the FACA. If you're interested to learn more about the detail of that, if you search Google for NDAA FY21 and look for section 501, you will get that. The whole NDAA is 4,000 or so pages, so you don't want to read the whole thing. Another activity, again, as part of the National AI Initiative Act, is that establishment of an AI Research Resource Task Force. By the statute, that was 12 members, 4 of them from government, 4 from industry, 4 from academia. That we look at this. The charge is to write a report about basically the goal of how to make resources such as data, cloud, more equitable and more accessible. The section for that in the law is something is blocking it, but I think it's section 5106. Yes, section 5106. I have been asked to be one of those 12 people, basically one of the 4 of them from the government. So a lot of activity from that is coming out. That's also good. You will probably have saw the OSTP and NSF announcement for the establishment of the research task force. And as it is a FACA, and as it is with any other FACA, any of the meeting, they're going to have a public notice before that. One of the roles that we play is interagency coordination. I'm talking about the box in the middle, in the bottom row. So we sit in many of the interagency mechanisms, meetings. One of them is through the OSTP. There is the MLAI subcommittee, through the NIDERT. Many of you might be participate in the networking, information, telecommunication, research and development. I think that's NIDERT. And again, our job is to provide data and quantitative data for sound and informed policy making. One of the hats that I wear as part of the our involvement with NSTC MLAI subcommittee is serving as the role of the AI standard coordinator, and I can talk about it a little bit when we talk about the standards. As you know, standards for emerging technology is now getting a lot of attention. The administration is also paying attention to that, and it sort of warms my heart when I hear about this. I'm a veteran of standards. I have been sitting in the standard development for biometrics since 2006. A lot of people roll their eyes on standards, but it can be really interesting technical challenge and opportunity. And of course, we do a lot of stakeholder outreach and workshops, and I'll talk about them a little bit. Now, okay, good. Now I want to go and basically focus on the trustworthy AI at NIST, given that I hope that was give you a good overview of where we are, what we do, and why we do what we do. So about AI. We all agree that AI, the potentials of AI, well, let's just say this way, that AI gives us a lot of advancement. AI can do a lot of things and improve our life, yet it has its own risks and challenges. Depends on the link you click on, the article you pick on to read. It either tells you about how great AI is and how our lives are going to be changed to be better and more productive and more efficient. But there are also voices that warns us about the negative impact of AI, and some goes all the way to say that it can even be a threat to humanity. And we all know that the truth is somewhere in between. We have seen many of the high-level principles for AI that talk about AI to be trustworthy, ethical, non-discriminatory, fair, what else they say, promote civil liberties and human rights and democratic values. These are all great and good. And while there are many of them, the good news is that there is a good overlap among all of them. The opportunity for us at the community is to take these high-level value-based statements and map them into technical requirements that can be designed in the development, in the design of the AI systems, but also importantly, be able to test AI systems for those requirements. And that's what we're trying to do. And despite that, the kind of the acknowledgement that there are risks associated with AI, there hasn't yet been a taxonomy of risks. What are the type of risks that are for AI? And, you know, we hear it here and there that there are issues about AI systems are, you know, algorithms are brittle. They can be, they have vulnerabilities. They can, you know, we all heard about image poisoning and similar things. We hear a lot about bias. We hear a lot about the AI algorithm being a black box, being opaque, not being not explainable. A lot of worries about the safety of AI systems. And so the first thing that we want to do as part of our effort towards trustworthy AI is to come up with a taxonomy of risk. And you may have noticed that I go between risk and trust because there are really two sides of the same coin. As we improve the trust, we have actually reduced risk than the other way. And I think there is actually a very old definition of trust that related to risk and define trust as a lack of risk. So the first thing that we want to do, which is the bottom of this pyramid, is to identify building blocks or technical requirements for trustworthy AI. And note that I'm talking about the technical requirements. And in the next slide, when I talk about this, we have been very careful to talk about again, technical requirement, things that you can associate it with the systems and design, develop, and test against. And topics such as ethics, while really, really important, they are context-based and they have a very, very high reliance and dependence on the societal norm and considerations. So we are trying to think about what are those characteristics that a system should have, the characteristics that are testable and implementable and testable. That allows us to build trustworthy systems. We understand that there's also another steps that mostly psychologists and sociologists will be involved on about if you have a trustworthy system, how to get people to trust them in them, how to build confidence, right? Why is it that there are early adoptions of some technologies and there are late adoptions, and there are some people that just don't want to do that? So we're also looking at that perspective from the individuals and from human on how to get them to trust us with decisions that can be really important, right? If AI system is going to make a diagnosis for based on some medical images. And then, of course, there's a responsible and ethical use of AI, which is outside the scope of the work that we're doing. Again, I want to acknowledge that that's a really important work. It's just beyond the scope of our work because it's outside the expertise of us at NIST and ITL. Okay, going back to this, after having a taxonomy of risk, after knowing those building blocks for trustworthy AI, then the next step is to have a clear understanding of what it is that we mean by, for example, bias or explainability. It's often the case that people use the same term, meaning two different things. And we have been spending quite a good amount of time on the developing concepts, terminology, and taxonomy for aspects of trustworthy AI, such as security, bias, and explainability. And the goal is that to make sure that everybody has the same lexicon and terminology. So have a clear understanding and a shared understanding of what it is that we mean and we want to understand, measure, manage. That allows us to have a good grip of what it is that we want to measure, and then move on to something again that's very dear to us, evaluation and measurement, to development, devising and revising metrics for evaluations, benchmark, or basically assessing each level of or each component of trust or each component of risk. And this is addressing the question of what to measure. Well, we address the question of what to measure, and this one address the question of the how to measure. Once we have this, once we know what it is that we want to measure, we have metrics, performance, conformance, standards that tell us how to measure. Then we have the right foundation, the right building blocks to embark on development of a risk management. As you guys know, it's these components of trust, these building blocks, explainability, accuracy, bias, security, they are also co-founding factors. So a good study of how one affect the others is also important. Ideally, if we had enough time, that's what we want to do. We want to spend enough time on getting the concepts right, terminology and taxonomies right, spend enough time to make sure that we have the right metrics and the right standards, guidelines, key practices, best practices, and then go on and do a risk management framework. The reality of the world is that there is a need for having the AI risk management framework, and we have been called by industry, policymakers, lawmakers to do the risk management framework. So it's going to be an interesting ride of trying to advance the research at the same time, standards, at the same time, guidelines for risk management. And of course, these are really important foundations for the governance and policy considerations. So what are these building blocks that we're talking about? And I want to quickly look at chat to make sure that if I have important things to answer. Okay, I'm gonna skip the chat for now. Okay, what are the building blocks for trustworthy AI? And what you see here is something that has come up with a lot of discussions and socialization with the community of researchers, industry, and standard development. We started this journey about 2 years ago. And you see it here. So first and foremost, I think everybody agree that we want our system to be accurate. But on top of being accurate, we want it to be secure and resilient to many of the vulnerabilities. We want it to be robust to the environment and data not seen during the training. Explainability and interpretability are very important, and there are already some laws on the book for example, in financial sectors about if they want to use AI and machine learning systems for some of their applications. Bias, we hear a lot about in the news, what bias is, how bias can creep into the AI systems, or how we can identify that. Our report, we did a workshop back in August 18, 2020, wrote a report based on the findings of the workshop and the literature survey and the community engagement that we had done. The report went out the day before yesterday, along with a sort of catchy video. The video was the interview with experts in the field. It's not necessarily, well, I shouldn't say necessarily, it is not NIST view of bias or bias in AI. We did some interviews with the experts in the field, and we just put it out to show what experts in the field say about bias and we're managing bias in AI as a scientific discipline. What's the status of that today? We're doing similar videos for explainable AI, for secure AI. So if you want to be interviewed in the video, let me know. And we like to do that a year after, some of the work that we did, to basically see if you have contributed to the field. There are other issues such as reliability, safety, privacy preserving, a topic that's become more and more on top of many people's and policymakers' mind about how to secure and ensure the privacy of the data of the models. And I have a question mark here because as we embark on this journey, there might be other factors and other components that may be identified. What I'm going to do now is, very, very quickly go over a couple of these research programs that we have built at NIST, and I'll be happy to go deeper during the Q&A. Secure AI, we started by putting out the terminology and taxonomy for adversarial machine learning out. And by the time we did that, we started building a testbed, partly because we're getting a lot of requests, and by request suggestions from industry and also policymakers that there's need for having testbeds. So what it is, it's a really big software engineering projects that build these testbed, plug and play, allow you to put in, their metrics within this platform, but allows you to add your metrics, your data, your system, allow you to train your system and then test it. What we're trying to get is, and help is to bring some sort of interpretability and uniformity in the way tests are being done. The GitHub link on the bottom has the source code and the documentation for that. So there are many different ways that this can be used. It can be used for internal research by researchers when they are developing systems. We will use it for the benchmark and evaluations that we will set up, and of course, many other different ways. Anyway, this is the image here is just the picture of the architecture, and the code and the documentation is in the GitHub. It's going to be a community effort, so please look at it and let us know your thoughts on that. On the explainability, we put a 4 principle of explainable AI out in August 2020 for public comments, and a public comment ended in October and followed up with a workshop in January to go over the comments of the paper. And these are the 4 principles here. The paper is under revision based on the comments we received. Meanwhile, we put out a document on psychological foundations of explainability and interpretability. Personally, I believe that explainable and interpretable AI are 2 different things. Explainable gets into basically explaining the model, explaining how it works. So it's of most interest to basically developers and computer scientists, and can answer questions where the model goes wrong, or basically debug the model. Interpretability is explanation of why, how the system comes up with the conclusion it came to, and that, I think that's what is needed when AI systems are being deployed for HR, human resources, or in financial sectors for loans and all that. I'm going to take a moment to look at the Q&As because to see if I can answer some of them. coordinating some way with other organizations that are working similar. So the question is about coordination with other organizations that are working on risk taxonomy, risk assessment. The answer definitely is that yes, we have done it to some degree, and now to the best that we could, and reach out. But even better, as part of the AI risk management development, a request for information is going to go out, and we're hoping to reach a very wide community and get enough responses through that. So the answer is yes, we want to coordinate. We want to we get all of them as input, and we consider them all as input to development of the AI risk management framework. And there will be opportunities for agencies, for entities and organizations to give us input on that. Another question from Kishore is asking, is NIST looking at ethical aspects, in specific the sustainability aspect, as it has got the least attention from AI evangelists? I think I need to know, oh yeah, okay, so you're talking about huge carbon footprint of the AI model. Yes, so last week we had a workshop on AI measurement and evaluations. I think I have a slide on that. And in one of the panels said that the size of the network should, if anything, should be a factor in the denominator and not the numerator. So the bigger the network doesn't really mean the better. And are we going to look at that? Not as part of the risk, well, we haven't considered it yet as part of the risk management, but these are all the type of input that we like to hear. So when the RFI goes out, please make sure that you share your thoughts and ideas about this. Policy sandboxes. Policy sandboxes, I think OECD is doing this. We're working with the OECD. I sit in one of the OECD network of experts, One AI. As you know, it's multiple working group, and I'm sitting in one of them. If I understand your question, that you're talking about that, my answer is not at this point. Yeah, but happy to get deeper in that. And a question about longer term risks, potential for global catastrophic or even existential risks. Yeah, that was my first slide about, the range of the risks. Again, these are the type of inputs that we like to hear as part of the RFI. What we decided to do, the space of the problem is huge, right? They were putting concepts such as ethical and fair on the table, and we want to try to get those concepts and get them into technical requirements. So the two slides before, when I had that question mark, I think all of these are really great inputs to go there. I'm going to go with the slides and then maybe come back and answer some of the questions. I don't have that many slides left, so I just want to make sure that I finish them. Then on the bias in AI, we did a workshop, as I said, in August, and we did the report went out. We are asking for comments until August 5th on this. The link in the bottom has the news release that has the link to the paper, the template for the comments, and also the video that I mentioned, which is the interview with the expert. And again, emphasis here, not that I don't agree with the content of the video, but for the full transparency, the video is not opinion of NIST. NIST is the opinion of the experts in the community. And then after the public comment period closes on August 5th, we will adjudicate, we will go through all of the comments, and we will follow up. We plan to follow up with a series of engagements with the community to basically develop the risk management portion, bias risk management portion of the AI risk management. So a lot on the bias in AI is to come. If you have time and interest, please look at the document and let us know your thoughts. I mentioned the workshop that we had last week. So Secure AI was the first research project that we did. So the terminology and taxonomy paper went out, the test bus was built, and we had this idea of showing the testbed to the whole world and asking about what type of evaluations is needed for vulnerability of AI. We put a program committee together from Nicholas Carlini from Google, Alexander Matri from MIT, Bill Stryland from Lincoln Lab, Sohail Faizi from UMD, and a couple of my colleagues, Harold Booth and Craig Greenberg from NIST. And during our discussions, our external program committee basically told us that you need to discuss the AI measurement and evaluation, what it means, what a good evaluation means. And, if you want to design an evaluation, run evaluations, everything that you need to consider, from the data to metrics to infrastructures to reporting of the results. And we had a workshop last week, 700 plus attendees, 3 keynotes. Jason Madeny, Assistant Director of OSDP, gave the opening keynote. Fei Li from Stanford came and talked to us about ImageNet and the role of ImageNet in evaluations and things that she would possibly do differently. And then we had Lynn Parker, founding director of the National AI Initiative Office and US Deputy CTO, I think is another title. And she's basically the AI person in government at the OSDP. She gave the closing keynote. The whole conference, the whole workshop was panel discussions. We had 12 panels, 57 panelists, and recording of most part of the workshop is going to be available on internet on our site. There were a couple of panels that we didn't consent from all of the panelists to record them. What's next after that is first and foremost a report of that. I forgot to put it in my slides, but the National Academy of Sciences also hosted a workshop for us back in March 3 and 4 on assessment needs, how to do assessment and evaluations for AI systems. And the proceedings of that is, and plus the video of that whole workshops is on Academy's website, and I'll be happy to share the link with you guys. So we had that workshop. We followed that with our workshop, and one of the messages or one of the recommendations for NIST out of the National Academy workshop was do something that Trek did for information retrieval for trustworthy AI. Oh, I mean evaluation here. I'm sorry for the typo. For trustworthy AI evaluations. And Ellen Voorhees, that many of you may know her, which was running the Trek, agreed, and we're very grateful for that, to basically lead the trustworthy AI evaluations model after the Trek. So the Trek community has been notified that she handed the Trek to our colleague Ion Suborov, and she is establishing this trustworthy AI evaluations. At the National Academy, they kind of jokingly said that we should call it truck. It's just rhyme with Trek. So that's our nickname for now until we find a better name. Some of you may have already know about this or be contacted with Ellen or Ellen's colleague, but a Trek is run by an advisory committee. Ellen has put an advisory committee together, and the first evaluation is going to be in 2022. However, Trek 2021, Trek of this year is going to have a fair ranking evaluations, which will look at the bias in information retrieval. Very quickly, outside of the software stuff, our physicists and mathematicians are looking at new exotic hardware for AI. You all have heard about that GPUs are not going to be, or the current technology are not going to be satisfactory for innovations for the next wave of deep learning or whatever it's going to be called. So that's where our colleagues are looking at new brain-inspired circuit and architectures, Spark neural net, all those cool stuff. The USG standard coordination. So what we're trying to do really is standard, a lot of people roll their eye and they think that, oh, it's all about, very tight specification and commas here and all that. Really good standards are those that are clear and implementable. And to write clear and implementable standards, what we need is really solid technical foundations and scientific foundations. You're not going to have good standards if you don't have good science and research. So as part of my job as AI standards coordinator for government is I understand what are the needs, what are the priorities, and try to bolster participation in standard development, but at the same time, bolster the research needed to allow for development of the good standards. I'm going to stop here for any discussions. I'm going to go to question on the chat. I see two questions that from John Gersh about relation between risk and trust is contextual. Yes. The context of use may be inherently risky, demanding greater trustworthiness. Yes, that's very true. And thanks for that question. So that's why risk-based approach is very powerful. And what we're trying to do is to lay out a taxonomy of risk, a clear and shared understanding of each of those components of risk mean, provide guidance, tools, methods, metrics for assessing each of them, provide enough knowledge and guidance about how these different factors affect each other. When I say we, this is a very collective we of NIST and the whole community. I cannot emphasize enough that while we have good and very, very strong and smart people, we can't do what we do without engaging the broader community and leverage their knowledge. So that's what we're trying. That's what the AI risk management framework is going to do. And then depends on the use case. Depends, as you just said, about the context. The user, the developer, the owner of that will decide what are the risks that's more important to them, is essential to them, and come up with, what's their appetite for risk, the cost-benefit analysis that you said, and then decide on the level of appropriate for the risk. The example that I always make, and I made that EU was working on their EU AI Act because there was appetite, as you see, for banning some part of technology. There isn't one size fits all solution, and I think that's what John is trying to say here too. Example that I would bring up always was face recognition, because that was being, was the example of a technology that needed regulations or ban. As you know, many of the civil liberties in the US have called for ban of the face recognition for particular, definitely for law enforcement, but even maybe more. So face recognition, if I'm using face recognition for law enforcement, there is a different level of risk involved than I'm using face recognition to unlock my iPhone. What we are trying to do is just understanding what are the risk, give a shared basically language and lexicon to talk about risk, to identify risks and tools for managing this risk, but definitely understanding what level of risk is acceptable it has to be left by the owner, developer of the technology. I have a question from, how can you make a trustworthy AI free from bias when you involve White House policy? I don't know the question, but they have to first say that if I said free from bias in my slides, I have to go and correct them. We all know zero error is not possible. We can try to manage and go towards zero error, but we're not going to have zero bias. So that's what I think. I guess I need more clarification from Amruter. Another question, it says that any initiative in NIST around trustworthiness as such beyond AI? Privacy. So the AI part has the answer, sort of a very general answer, is yes. The purpose statement for our laboratory, information technology laboratory, is to cultivate trust in IT and metrology. That is our lens that we look at all of the problems. That's our lens for making the decisions and strategic priorities about the work that we want to do, the impact that we want to have is cultivate trust in IT and metrology. The AI work has some touch points with security, with cybersecurity program, the privacy program, and those are involved. I hope that answered your question, but I can only talk about the AI part of the program.
I'd also like to open up to the panelists while Elham, you answer the last question from Ember, I think right now. If panelists have any question, please, unmute and maybe ask directly. Yeah. Okay, go ahead, please, Elham. Thank you.
The last question is that translate this risk. How is your team working to translate this risk research to non-academic community? Right. That's a very good question. Getting it to practice is our ultimate goal. Getting it to the end users or individuals is our ultimate goal. So one of the difficulty with explainable AI and interpretable AI is explanation to who, and you need to have different level of explanations depending on the different level of expertise or the role they play. And I guess your question is about similar thing. Yes, we're working on that, and that's part of the purpose to if you do it right, the same way that cybersecurity and privacy framework did. If you do it right, then it can help many different people, from executives at CCO to policymakers to computer scientists that are writing the code for development of a new AI systems, all the way to the people that have to make a choice between, do I want to buy this? Do I want to use Siri to order my groceries, for example? But that's the goal. Thank you. Questions from panel?
Yes, good morning, Elham. Tony DeBora here from the Whiting School. My question has to do with the draft legislation that the European Union has been preparing on regulating AI. And if you're familiar with it, if you could comment on it, and also maybe give us a sneak preview of how you anticipate that legislation will influence developments regarding AI in Europe, and then more importantly for us in the United States ultimately.
Thanks, Tony. You're talking about the EU AI Act that went out April 21st or something. Yes, yeah. And as you know, they had put a consultation paper out about a year ago on February 2020. Okay, I'm gonna go with the top line for the administration first. That yes, there is a lot of harmonization and agreement between US and EU approach to AI, that we all wanted it to be based on human rights, promoting civil liberty, and another really important part is we all agree on a risk-based approach and risk management approach for the AI. On the regulation, I think EU also in the paper mentioned that, but definitely US wants to make sure that the regulation does not stifle innovations. So it allows for innovation to happen, and with regulations, with standard, timeliness is really important. You don't want it to be too late, you don't want to be too early, you know the reasons for that. So make sure that we do it in that sense, right? And there are some ambiguity. Now I'm talking from as the expert. There's some ambiguity in the EU AI Act. So they are having this risk-based approach, that they're banning some AI applications, and for the other ones, based on the level of risks, low, medium, high, green, yellow, red, and there are different levels of regulations, and there are different level of compliance and conformance required. One question is that how those level of risks are being identified, who and how they're making decision that this is high risk versus low risk. And then the second one is that the compliance and conformance to some specification begs for a specification to be developed, and those specifications are not yet developed, right? For example, for biometric, they're having they identified remote biometric identification. Now I'm fuzzy. I don't know if they didn't ban it. I think it is a high risk. So for that high risk, they want some specification, and they're working with to come up with that specification. But it's important to have those specifications, right? And those specifications that, in my talk, I talked about them as standards, clear, implementable, and not open to different interpretation. Otherwise, the whole purpose is defeated, right? You are not going to achieve it. So that's where we are, and we're going to work with them. We're going to advance the risk management, and we're hoping that the different member states in Europe, they all, whatever that specification they want to go and get compliance or conformance to, is sort of harmonized across. definitely Europe and the globe. Otherwise, we can risk a fragmented market.
Thank you very much for that. A follow-up question is, in the United States, which agencies would play a similar role? Would it be at the federal level? Would it be states, similar to what some of the states are doing with GDPR? What would that look like in the US?
Equivalent to EU office in Brussels.
Yeah, if some of these regulations are adopted in the United States.
Right. So you may be familiar with the OMB OIRA put out a regulatory memo back in November 2020 for use of AI in government, for use of AI developed by non-government within government, and talks about some of that. It's very light regulations. And then another executive order came out in December 2020. The name of all of these things are advancing trustworthy AI, something like that. And that has specifications for AI systems developed by government for use within government. So there are some documents already out there. Your question about, is it going to be at the federal level? Is it going to be at the lower level? This discussion of AI being regulated or not is a topic. Personally, as an expert, I think I certainly do believe, maybe I have drank NIST Kool-Aid for too long, voluntary consensus-based standard and risk management approaches are very, very powerful. Consensus-based voluntary standards, because of consensus-based, because of the particularly those that have been developed in standard development organizations that are globally relevant, open, inclusive, transparent, have a due process. At least and that's part of our job, to make sure that there is enough technical experts' contribution to those standards. And by the virtue of a lot of experts around the world looking at that, consensus doesn't mean accurate and technically correct, but the closest that we can get. So the risk management framework that NIST is going to develop, and we're hoping to get enough. Well, we know that we're going to give it. There's a lot of interest, but if you do it right, we can engage the whole industry in that. That could be a good way for everybody to use. And standards can be soft regulations too, right? Regulation can be written on saying that these standards can be used. So our message, or one thing that I really try to pass around to all the policymakers is that having a valid scientific foundation is really important. Otherwise, you're going to write rules and policies that's going to make things worse, right?
Yeah.
I hope that answered your question. That was not.
Thank you.
David, do you have anything? We have 2 more questions from the audience, but David, would you like to ask anything?
Yeah, this is a little bit more technical. I know that things like trust and safety are very abstract concepts. Can you describe the complexities and process to move that to something that is a measurable requirement that could be kind of picked up by some developer?
You're not talking about a trust score or trustworthiness score,
or even trust, right? How do you take something as abstract as that and make it a requirement that people can pick up and use?
So exactly because what you said, so 2 years ago when we were trying to do this, exactly because these are such a abstract, high-level, value-based things, that we decided to try to decouple them and try to get each of them. So there are a lot of work, as you know, on assessing vulnerability of AI, right? Look at them, and all of these certifiable security things are really promising, right? Instead of trying to just assess the strength of the defenses, because another attack is going to come up, can we go and take it to the theory level and come up with those certifiable security levels? So that's for the security part. On the privacy preserving machine learning, with the whole community, we are looking at many different, secure multi-party computations, differential privacy, homomorphic, all of those things. I don't know we are yet on the level of coming up with some metrics, but that is something that we want to get to. Accuracy is easy, false positive, false negative has been used for a long time. Robustness is a bit more easier because again, there's a lot more there. But when you get to things such as safety, at least, it becomes really difficult for me. Explainability is another difficult one. But my hope is that by decoupling these high-level abstract top concepts as trust into more tangible technical requirements, and then for each of them try to everybody understand what it is that we're talking about. Bias, is it that we're talking about statistical bias? Are we talking about any other part of biases? Because when we decouple them in that way, it makes it a bit easier to try to come up with the metric. But that's a challenge that we have. That's a very good question. That's the work that we're doing, and we look at participation from all of you guys.
Elham, I think there are 2 more questions. If you'd like to take those, we have a little bit time left.
Professor Chalapa, hello. It's great seeing you here, and thanks. So it's my distinct honor and pleasure to be here and get a question from Professor Chalapa. So, a question: a survey paper has identified 20 different biases and about 20 fairness metrics. Yes, that 20 fairness metrics on the YouTube, I always quote that. How do you plan to handle these multiple incarnations of metrics and biases? Very good question. Yes, and the report that we put out, I think. We look at that. 20 different biases. I think our survey showed even a larger number. What we're trying to do is just do that type of work, survey what's out there, try to categorize them into something more concise, put the proposals out for the community input, and with the help of the community, try to reach to some workable solutions. Is it difficult? Yes, it is, but not as much as we think. It's difficult because it's a lot of work, but as I said, bringing the community together and the position that we have to play as the convener for the whole community and leverage the knowledge makes us hopeful that we can converge to something good. On fairness and 20 different metrics, and I think 29 technical, mathematical definition, fairness is a topic that I have been completely avoid that, and I think this is something that's also, again, contextual, depend on the society norms. So the topic of fairness and ethics and these things are difficult to get into implementable requirements. With the other one that I put in my slide, we're a bit hopeful, and we certainly look at your guidance and your experiences in this. And then the question from Chi-Ming Chen, can you give a link to the document of NIST AI program? Sure, I'll put it in the chat in a second. And then thank you, Rama. Thanks so very much for your kind words again. It's an pleasure to get this.
Actually, this is an excellent talk. Get an overview of the whole NIST program, AI program. I personally had a question about how do we take advantage of the testbed that you have. I'm personally working in the 5G security area, and I also co-chair for IEEE Future Network Initiative, and we have an AI group there. We're trying to see how we can even collaborate from IAA, IEEE, and APL with NIST on this specific topic. That's something we can say very high level, the process that exists. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. And I can't see the list of the participants, or maybe I should try to see. We have talked with some of the, colleagues at the Johns Hopkins APL and tried to do some work with them. I believe you're in the work of getting a PrEP student. I don't know if you're familiar with PrEP. PrEP stands for the R is for research, and the P at the end is for program. The other two, forgive me because I can't remember. But basically, what it is, it's it's a mechanism to collaborate with the universities that are part of the program and just makes the exchange of students a lot easier. There was a huge call for grant and call for proposal out from NIST, and I think 5 universities are part of that. Johns Hopkins is one of them, that basically makes the exchange of students really easy, and we are working on that. The testbed, by all means, please look at them and let us know, and I believe that there might be many other way of collaboration that we should
Thank you. Thank you again. Unless anybody has any specific question from the panelists, Veronica, you have any question or last words? Thank you again for accepting our invitation and in spite of your busy schedule coming and
of course, I completely lost track of time. I realized that I went over time. I meant to not have too many slides, but as you can see, this is an area that if I start talking about it, I cannot stop. I look forward to staying in touch. I look forward to building collaborations. There is a lot to do, and we can't really do.
We'll have to visit your campus, and now that things are opening up, maybe.
I love that. I love
that. You can come and visit us as well. Yeah.
That would be wonderful. Ming Chen, I cannot quickly, as I'm talking and looking at our website to look at it, but we have an AI fact sheet somewhere posted in our website that I'm trying to send that to you. That's a 2-pager that hopefully is all what you need, but I'm going to email it to Veronica or Ashutosh, and you guys can send it to. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm happy to send it out to our distros.
Thank you again.
Thank you very much for having me. I hope that was a useful hour of your time. And as I said, I look forward to staying in touch.
I think it's just beginning, right? I see a potential lot of collaboration opportunity in this area. Thank you again.
Looking forward to that.
Thank you again.
Great day.
Thanks,
Bye.
everyone.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everybody.